Hello, friends. Welcome back to our tutorial, Intensive Data Analysis with Pivot Table. Today, we are going to look at Module 3. And Module 3, we are looking at data manipulation. Just a quick recap. In Module 1, we looked at an overview of Pivot Table, where we introduced us to using Pivot Table for data analysis. And in that Module 1, we explored the different concepts of what is a pivot table, why do we use pivot table, and how do we use pivot table for our data analysis. And during that module, we also looked at the different steps of creating a pivot table. And we started by looking at the basic structure of a pivot table. Okay, so with a good understanding of how a pivot table looks like structurally, we're able to move to the next module, Module 2, in which we describe the 4 different fields of a pivot table. And we looked at the rows, the columns, the values, and the filter fields. And we looked at what each field produces, the effect it will have on the data. And so we now lay down the step-by-step process of creating a pivot table from your raw data. Okay, so in this Module 3, we just want to look specifically on data manipulation. And in that data manipulation, we are going to have some key subtopics that we'll be looking at. So as a way of understanding what we'll be covering in this Module 3, let's attempt to explain or describe what data manipulation is. Now, this refers to the process of altering your data, organizing it, or transforming it just to make sure that you bring out something meaningful out of the data. It could come in the form of you're mashing it. You can just visualize a spongy foam that has some, you dip it in water or in any liquid, it soaks the liquid and retains that. And so you want to know what is inside. So you squeeze it, okay? You can wring it. So that's what data manipulation is all about. You are doing all manner of twisting on the data to find out if any useful insight can come out of it. You can also do data manipulation to prepare your data for further analysis. There are some data that are not in the right format or in the right presentation for analysis. So you do some kind of manipulation to arrive at a structure or a format that you can actually run an analysis to get useful insight or very intelligent outings. Okay, so for this Module 3, we are going to be looking at aggregation and analysis. These are also forms of data manipulation. In aggregation, you are going to choose what is the operation or the function that you will use. For instance, you might decide to have your data and you aggregate them by sum, or look for an average, or count. Okay, so we'll be seeing that in this module. Then the second one is to customize the fields. This is another way you can manipulate your data. Okay, so right inside your pivot table, you can explore the options like sorting. You want to look at how does this flow if you sort it in a particular order. Say you want to sort it from up to down or down to up in terms of ascending or descending order. You can also decide to filter. You're just bringing out some elements that look alike, or you define a parameter. So, okay, I want to see the records. Maybe in a column, you want to get the names of people that starts with P or that have a particular character, or a particular name, or a particular tag or prefix or suffix, okay? You bring them out. It's a form of data manipulation. You're just extracting a portion of it. You can also decide to group them, and then you want to view their values as a group. The one that quickly comes to mind is dates. Okay, so you may have January to December, and things are happening on every month, at the end of every month. But right now, you just want to see how what's the trend if you view them quarterly, okay? So you group your dates, and then it gives you the values of first quarter. I'm talking about the values that you get January, February, and March, okay? So you get that if you group. You can also decide to group age, okay? Age, maybe you are recording a record of maybe students or patients or customers, and you have their ages, okay? So you want to see, I want to see the people, or the value of the age of all your clients that fall within the age, or say 5 years to 15 years. You are grouping them together, and you see the value. So you can say 5 years to 10 years, 11 years to 15 years, 16 years to 30 years, and then above 30 years. So it's going to segment your data in that group and then display that for you. That is also another form of data manipulation. You can look at, there are some powerful filters. We describe that also in our module 2, where we look at the other buttons on pivot table that allows you to connect and make your visualization interactive. Okay, so you use filters to analyze specific subsets of data. For instance, now you have states. You have some states, let's say in Nigeria, we have states that are in Northeast, we have states that are in Northwest, we have states that are in South, and so on and so forth for the 6 zones we have in Nigeria. So you may decide to say, okay, I want to, instead of seeing all the 36 plus 1 states in Nigeria, you want to group them, and then you now filter out, say, okay, I want to see the data that fits in for this zone. So you look at your data zone by zone. So filtering data is another form of data manipulation. And then when you are connected to a live source of data set, and that live data set is usually updated either on weekly basis. Maybe you are looking at a weekly sales or weekly enrollment. Okay, so at the end of the first week, you create your pivot table from that data source, and then you analyze. And then as we have done that analysis, by the end of the next week, new set of data must have been imputed. Okay, so you need to now go and fetch in the current data. You do your refreshing, you refresh your pivot table, and then it goes and picks the new set of data, and then it presents to you again. And then there's another aspect of data manipulation that is called drill down. Okay, so this is a concept that you want to be looking at your data in a hierarchical order. Say you want to look at the regional, and then looking at the regional, or let's say national view. After looking at that, you want to drill down further again from the national down to the regional. Okay, you drill down, and then it displays the data at the regional level. After viewing that, you still need to further drill down to the states. You drill down to the states, and then it shows you the data at the state level. If your data is arranged in that hierarchical order that extend to up to either local government, the world, and so on and so forth. Yes, you can drill down like that. And then until you get to the very granular level to view those things. Okay, so that is another form of data manipulation. Then you may decide to format your pivot table. Okay, there are different types of formatting that you can apply, like your font colors, there's the font types, the font sizes, the colors, and so on and so forth. Why? You want to enhance the readability of your pivot table. Now, these are also forms of manipulating the data so that you can get insights, okay? Number 7, we have briefly talked about this group and then sorting data in a particular order. All right, so these are the different ways you can manipulate your data. Now, another very important data manipulation process is the calculated fields or calculated items. When you look at your original data set, there are things hidden in it. You don't want to distort the format or the structure of that original data set, but you are going to create a pivot table out of it, and you're going to pivot them to look differently from different perspectives, like we explained in our module 1. But then there could be something you are interested in that are not there from the original data set, and you want to do some calculations. Okay, so by doing this calculation, you can get very wonderful intelligence from that data. You can be talking about the proportion. You know, your data set has been given to you, and then you want to now look at some parameters, maybe in terms of the proportion of one to the other. You want to see what is the contribution of each item to the whole part. Okay, so these are also ways that you can manipulate your data. Then we look at charting. Charting actually enhances your data. It brings out the beauty, and it makes your audience to appreciate it more. So when you create your charts directly from your pivot table, you are visualizing trends, you are visualizing insights, and you are making it more appealing. And it's easy to identify trends when you picturize it. And so these are the things that we will be looking at in this module 3. Okay, so we are going to use our data set here. This is what we'll be using in the course of our training, and it's going to provide us with all that we need to explain everything that we are going to be touching on. And just a quick one again, it's a reminder to let us know that in here, we have used the run between function to generate these numbers, because we will be refreshing this. Okay, so by the time we delve into the real analysis, you just know that we can always come back here, refresh, and then pick the new data. So just to say, if I keep pressing F9, you see the data is changing, the various figures are changing where we have used the run between. The function itself is not changing, but the numbers generated are changing. All right, so this is a prelude to the module 3 that we are going to be looking at. And so in a short while, we are going to now look at the individual aspect of this data manipulation. So we are going to use our data set to describe each of these processes. All right, so see you in the next video.